Yo, good morning, everyone. What's up? It is Wednesday. It's 11 o'clock Eastern. That means we're live from the Adorama event space. That is actually Adorama, 42 West 18th Street. You are more than welcome to come through for whatever you guys need, including the events and even this podcast if you ever want to hang out. We know it's a hard time of day for people to come through. We appreciate you joining us. I got Josh Katz with me today. But before we jump into who Josh Katz is and why you should know about him and what he thinks about everything, pretty much, he brought materials, guys, just like Lana.
Just trying to keep up.
He's going with it, guys. Really quickly, I just want to say thanks to our sponsor. Boom, SanDisk. You guys know SanDisk. If you've been in this industry for 5 seconds, you know SanDisk. Memory cards, hard drives. We use SanDisk Pro for our archiving of all the Adorama events and live streams. It's all saved on a RAID drive from SanDisk Pro. So if you guys are looking for any memory cards for your system, hard drives, SSDs, whatever, go check out the links down below. SanDisk, we thank you as always. And huge thanks to the guy that's going to make him talk really, really fast, Gotham Roasters, for hooking us up with the coffee today. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers. What'd you get?
Latte.
Josh goes, I don't ever drink coffee, so I don't know how to order it. So I'm going to talk really fast.
Yeah. This I drink coffee once every 2 months, so it's basically a recreational drug, and we'll have a good chatty conversation now.
Oh my gosh, Lana's in the chat. What's up, Lana? She was just here last week. If you check that out, she's a skate photographer. He's a skate photographer, but
Big fan of Lana, actually.
she's very cool people and definitely has a really cool story. You can check that episode out from last week and 31 other episodes outside of this one that we have going on. So if you're new to this, you might want to check out that playlist. Really quick before we get going, I just want to remind you guys, if you're in New York, come on. Boom. The wedding workshop is in effect. You guys can check out Adorama on Eventbrite for all the workshops. This one is hands-on. It is August 15th. Check out the Adorama Eventbrite. Also, Thursday, we got Beth Galton here, an amazing food photographer. She's going to be right here in the event space, or you can watch it live on the Adorama Events channel. And me and Daniel have brought back the Adorama live critique. Not live streamed. Come here, drop your images in. Let's talk about them, give you guys some constructive feedback. Okay, I promise we're going into this now. Okay. Josh, man. So if you guys don't know Josh, he's been on our channel before for a lot of like the new product announcements. For I think we did like a wide angle lens with you before and stuff like that. The Canon newer launch,
1535, yeah,
1535, and it was also a macro, which you were getting some shots on that as well. Josh has been kind of the quintessential skateboard photographer for the Adorama universe, pretty much. We actually have a mutual connection of Chad Caruso, who was here for like episode 3, who skated across America, and you were in like the final leg of that, capturing some of that.
I was the one that bullied Chad into letting someone take professional photos of the experience. So if it weren't for me relentlessly annoying him, we wouldn't have his now photo book coming out in the next couple months.
And speaking of books, my man's got some books, and we're going to talk about one of them that's special, but one was already out.
Yes, one photo book exists and one no one has heard of, and this is a rough proof that we're going to show off for the first time today.
We'll get into that a little bit because I want to save that for like a deep discussion because it's like a world premiere. But Josh Katz, when I think of him, I think of like in the moment street, in the moment action, in the moment culture. And I can always tell it's Josh when I'm scrolling through Instagram. I can feel your perspective points when you're shooting, and it's very it's almost like you really have a nice sense of when to be putting that camera to your lens when you're starting to see something bubble over and you got to get a shot of it, or just something that says something about where you are. And I think it's very cool. We're going to pop through your Instagram for a quick second so people get the vibe that I'm trying to relay to you. But you, as much as I know you as a skate photographer, as much as I think of you as a street photographer, you're also telling me that you're kind of a businessman now, and you've kind of been letting this, I don't want to say take a back seat, but you've definitely dialed back a little bit, right?
I would say that 90% of my effort right now is spent running my business, with photography being the other 10%. And it'll always ebb and flow. I'm a lifelong devoted photographer, and I'm as obsessed with it, maybe more obsessed with it than I've ever been. But yeah, professionally, it's been a nice little change of pace. So I don't even know what's on my Instagram. It's some random skate photos and whatever I happen to come across, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you that's the vibe I get from you. Is like, oh, Josh found that. And he's telling me I need to look at this for some reason. So I take a second every time and I go, well, why is he telling me to look at this? Well, it's a marathon dude juggling. How awesome is that? But it's also a really good angle on this, like I say.
Thank you. And you know what? We still have some irons in the fire. I've got some cool projects I'm really excited about happening this year.
Yeah, and let's talk about what you did move on to, because we can always talk about the photography of it, right? But let's talk about Skatefolio, which is what you're telling me is like the new venture, right?
Yes, it's my new company that I've been running for almost a year and a half now. It is a media site and a technology site where, for the first time ever, you can see everything a skater has ever filmed. And I also am running the media arm behind it. So I'm interviewing my favorite pros, my favorite filmmakers, and making sure that they're supported for the first time ever with a beautiful portfolio page.
So you're going to work without having to go to work.
It's a dream job.
Yeah.
It's an absolute dream job. And it's all connected too. I've been a skateboarder for over 20 years now.
Yeah,
and
the chat's saying that right now, actually.
whether I'm taking photos or running a company to support the industry, I'm just finding cool stories and trying to support them. And I kind of think about business as maybe just another abstract form of art. But we don't have to yap about my business. Let's talk about photography.
But it is an abstract form. And I think it's funny, like, this is going to sound so corny and cliche, but do you remember like the Dogtown Z Boys documentary? And they were like talking about like, no, man, Jay was making art out there and stuff like that. But if people that don't understand skate, or I come from the BMX world, it's, you know, same coin, different side, I'd say. You think it's a trick and that's all it is, but it's like, there's a style, there's a way they go about it. There's an intensity, or there's a subtlety to it, or there's little things that people do. And you can definitely tell someone's personality through their writing. And I think you're in tune to that. And now you're kind of making a distro point of showing those personalities, right?
If we want to draw the ultimate through line, I would say what separates any sort of action sport from a typical sport is that it's less about the competitive nature and more about the art form. So the videos are what defined a lot of these skaters' careers, and the art, it's the magazine covers. It's making films. So being on the back end as a skate photographer, like, you're just trying to make these people into heroes. And it's now cool to get to hit it from another angle and make sure we're supporting the people who deserve to be supported.
No, there was an old BMX video, literally video, called Neighborhood Superheroes. It was by Bass Brooklyn, and Brooklyn Bass rather. I'm sorry, but that's really kind of what it is. I don't think people realize sometimes that skating and stuff like that, it's a culture first before it's like actually like an action sport to me. Like, there's a whole life to it, and it's touchable. Like, you could see your favorite rider on the street literally right next to you if you're at those spots, and that's kind of wild. It's not like that in football. You're not seeing some guy come up next to you like at the park.
Yeah,
you know?
I like to think about, I run into my favorite pros at the skate park all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think what would happen if Lionel Messi just showed up to a soccer field. People would murder him, I think. Like,
Really?
They wouldn't know what to do. These people are so like removed, and I don't know, the humility of action sports is really neat. And you know what's even cooler in a weird way is the rollerbladers and the BMXers. It's so much less glorious than skating, and every single major pro athlete in those, they're making pennies, or there are less and less opportunities.
Yeah.
And with that they're down to earth in a really cool way that I always admire.
I find that most riders are grateful. Like, they're just like, I can't believe I get to do this. Like, or it's almost like a relief that they can finally just kind of ride and get sponsors and stuff like that. I mean, it's come a long way. Now you have actual skate parks. We didn't have that for a long time. In New York, it was very hard. We had Owl's Head, but look what happened to the Brooklyn Banks. Like, they actually transformed it to be friendly for it. But forever, you just went there and were like, how long do we got till the cops kick us out anywhere, right? Especially when you shoot, you got flashes everywhere, and you're like, I got to be ready to run in any minute. I've lost plenty of gear. I don't know about you.
Yeah, you know what? My first experience with flashes, cops, and gear, I was 17.
That's a good book title, by the way. That's a good book.
I was 17. We were skating a handrail in Virginia, where I grew up, and my friend's skateboard, like, we had a crew of like 10 people, but his skateboard goes flying, smashes into the window of a barbershop or a salon,
Nice.
and destroys the glass. So all these angry women with their hairs and curlers and such come out, and immediately one of them grabs onto my flashes. So my crew of 15 runs, and I stay because, one, I'd like to think that I'm a super respectable, responsible person who would have stayed. But I didn't have a choice. My flashes were now in their hands.
Yep.
So we dealt with the brunt of that, the bulk of that. And I don't know, part of what has inspired my entire photographic journey, honestly, is this love of weird interactions with strangers. And skateboarding has introduced me to that. When you are a spectacle in the streets. People come and say what's up to you. You have some terse interactions. You have some beautiful ones. And that sort of like just randomness is what I find so thrilling and what has fueled my love of photojournalism, of documentary photography, of street photography. And that ethos, that street photographer's ethos, applies, I think, to all of my work.
Oh yeah, no, you can feel it, and it's really interesting. I don't know if you felt this, but you end up developing a weird skill to diffuse situations from getting worse. If you're like a mature person in the group, and somebody like a deli owner comes down, and it's like, "Why are you wrecking my whatever?" And like you can diffuse that. You get this weird social skill to develop. I don't know about you if you feel the same way, but I definitely felt like as I got older, I got better at like, all right, let's look at the big picture here. No one's hurt. This is just paint. We can fix it. Like, you know, you kind of figure these things out. And you do get these like forced interactions. And I think it also makes you easier to interact with people for street photography or doing portrait work. You're kind of like, when you shoot portraits, you got to quickly make friends with that person that's in front of your lens to make them comfortable and kind of feel all right with it. And you probably worked on that skill whether you wanted to or not with the way you go about things.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of my photography revolves around access. It's getting to spend time. I mean, what inspires me to keep shooting is getting to spend time with incredible people in incredible places. And sometimes that's orchestrated with an incredible producer and a team. And sometimes it is just hanging out, being strategic, and getting to know the right people and having those weird conversations where you ask. And I think it's such a thrill trying to navigate these sort of situations, whether it's an angry deli owner who you're skating the side of his building, or, I don't know, like photographing the inside of the 9/11 memorial pools.
Right.
It's all just I'm lucky to have a camera. I'm really lucky to have a camera.
I think anybody that gets to a point, we always say the same thing, like, this was my pass. The camera was my pass into this world. I've had to shoot portraits of people that like I never probably would have interacted with any other way, or cultures that I never would have connected with, period, but you're allowed in, right? And then you're producing something for them, and then there's like a connection point, and there's a shared experience, and you start it going forward. And that's cool. I mean, I'm not going to lie, like my BMX career, there was definitely some like very hairy moments. And also I was shooting slide film back then, but I lost a lot of gear from people taking it while I was shooting. I had someone duct tape it to a car drove away, didn't realize it. I asked someone to just make sure this is over here. They duct taped it to a car. All of a sudden realizing there's no flashes going on after a while, and it's gone. Cops pick it up, take it, go away or whatever. But I think the culture of where we're at, it became more accepting. More people got into it. They were given safe spaces to ride, you know, things like that. And if you're just respectful as a photographer or riding, you get a better result out of people. Yeah,
and not to compete with programming here, but the men's park finals in skateboarding are happening in a half hour. So we're establishment now.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
medals.
I think what it all comes down to is this like perspective of barging it, where you do it and you ask for permission later, and you navigate the circumstances as a result. And like, I think I do that. I mean, skaters do that every time they go out and skate, but as a photographer, it's the same thing. You shoot and you ask for permission later.
Yeah.
I do that a lot in my documentary and my street work, but I like to think that I'm still super respectful with it. I like to have conversations with my subjects. I think that that's part of the beauty of it. Even if they're angry, just explaining to them why you took the photo, and hopefully, usually being able to convince them that like you did so out of like good intention,
right?
Sending them the image, stuff like that.
Keeping good faith.
Yeah, I'd say I'm less into street photography these days. I've definitely gone more in the documentary realm, just because I get to dive a little bit deeper and be a little more deliberate. But the street ethos will always be there, and I feel like that's where I found my groove.
Oh no, I'm not kidding. Like you can always tell like there's something you're trying to make me look at in your images. So I always like, this is a Josh image. I'm going to take a look at this. But speaking of like self-driving things like that, one, we were talking about Chad before, which is very interesting. And if you didn't, he was like episode 3. He skated across America, but it was kind of interesting the way you took it. You're like, look, he had issues in the past with drug use and like that, and now he has all this sober energy and channeled into something, and then you're part of that too, though. Like that's kind of amazing that like when one person siphons in more and more people to create something even bigger than everyone individually. What was it like, kind of, first of all, hearing about what he was getting up to, and were you like, I have to shoot this somehow? Were you like, let me go find him? Were you like, let me go to the end point? How did you find your way to jump yourself in there?
You want to pull it up on my Instagram? It's right at the top, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chad skated across America in, I believe, 57 days.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. And you can scroll through a couple of these images. I met up with him twice. Once in Tennessee, where I followed him for a little while for 3 days, and once in the finish line from Virginia on. And when I first hit him up to do this, Chad is insane. Chad is an incredible, devoted person
With a big heart.
setting a world record for something that no one thought he could do. And I told him from the beginning, I'm like, this is legendary, and we need to make sure that images are made to celebrate this. And his first response was, I don't know, maybe. I focus better when I'm alone, which I completely understand. And it requires an insane intensity and rigor to get there. But I told him, I'm like, listen, part of my photographic approach is being a fly on the wall. I will let you do your thing. I'll keep you company when you want it, and otherwise you won't see me. So I flew out to Nashville, and I followed him where I just rented a car, and I'd drive out, I'd catch him. He wouldn't know where I'd be. Sometimes I'd be standing on my car. Sometimes I'd be hidden in bushes. He would pass, and then we'd repeat that process over and over and over again for days. And then, following these weird moments with him in the motels and so on and so forth. And ultimately, it was a blast. One, seeing him not die, which is a feat in and of itself.
Seeing him finish was nuts to me.
Yes, absolutely. And two, just trying to anticipate these moments where what would take him 30 minutes would take me 10 seconds in a car. So trying to think really, really slowly as I carved through this landscape, which is it's pretty monotonous in Tennessee, I'll be honest with you, and finding some distinct scenes where it could make it seem like I spent a lot more time with him on the road than I really did.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize the length of time that actually was, that he was literally on the road with 2 pairs of clothing, and the things he had to consider, just a slight incline in the road, just slight, was enough to be a hard day for him, or that it wasn't smooth. And I think that's our job, right? We're no, this has to be documented. Go ahead, but this has to get documented. I mean, I think that's why I ended up here. I'm just I'm so obsessed with missing things that I was documenting everything. And then now we have camera phones everywhere. But I used to carry around point and shoots, Olympus Epics in my pocket. That was just the size roll of film and the battery, and I would shoot everything. But yeah, if he just did this, you just hear the idea of someone going from coast to coast. You don't see he's washing his clothes in a sink in a McDonald's. You don't see the motel room that he had to make a decision about, or what was around arm's length for him to eat that day and keep his energy up or his morale up.
I think part of the beauty of being a photographer is you get to be the third party who has the objective perspective of what's happening. And usually, with any great athlete, they're just doing their thing, and they wouldn't think to talk to you about, washing their clothes in the motel bathroom or icing his foot in the trash can. And it's that kind of minutia that is actually oh, this is what is the story. And yeah, being the third party, it's a treat to get to do that. And for anyone to give me access to support that is a grand honor.
Someone saying, run and get him another coffee. We're 18 minutes in. You're almost done with that.
Oh,
Man.
This is going to blow my mind. This is plenty.
I'm going to scrape him off the ceiling here for the next event. No, but a lot of what I try to explain to people that didn't understand, and I keep saying rider mentality because I feel like rider stands for BMX and skate, is no matter what, it's always on you to progress. You can have a whole crew with you riding, whatever, but at moment of whatever you're trying to do, rail, gap, whatever, it's on you, right? And I think that pertains to anything. I think that's what taught me so much about it. But you kind of jumped your own gap here, man. You kind of went and were I'm going to do my own book my way. You were I'm not going to seek a publisher. I'm going to just go ahead and do it. Can I hold this up? It says
yeah. So the context here is this is one of the initial prints. The colors are off.
Oh, shut up.
The colors are horrible. So what we did here is this is from a month in Hawaii, and this is an exploration. It's called The Art of Showing Up. Where should I hold this, by the way? Is this the right?
We're good.
Cool. So it's called The Art of Showing Up.
4K.
And this is an exploration of America's relationship with Hawaii. So it's a tourism study. It's a story of
the Notebook vibe. I like it.
Yeah, it's a story of how to be a good tourist, what it means to be a tourist, and how we conceptualize Hawaii as as a state. So what we did here is we wanted to make it look like a notebook. So every single word in this book, and there's a ton of writing as well as photography, it's all handwritten. Every image was printed out and then photographed from above. So each individual page is like a set, essentially.
Yeah, it's not like it wasn't put in, this is not in design. This is literally put together and shot copy stand style, almost like South Park episode season 1. It's like
yeah, so this is like, yeah, as a result, the colors are crazy on this copy. It's way too cold, but I wanted to show something, have a little secret access here.
Appreciate it.
And this will be coming out in the next few months. There's, as you can see, there's graphs. There's
how do you go from skateboard photography, street photography, to going like, hey, Hawaii?
Yeah, so
tell me that.
Okay, well, I think this book is an important interim project. I did this book, and I should give you context. When I made this book, I was a YouTube photographer, just to be clear. That's how I came up in the photo education space, making tutorials, teaching workshops.
I know nothing about that. I don't.
Great. So I got my start at making skate videos on YouTube.
Okay.
I decided I'd always been a photographer as well. I got kind of tired of that and said, okay, I'm going in on photo education. So I made a 9-hour-long photography course on Udemy. That was life-changing. I was 20 at the time. And then from there, I got a lot of incredible opportunities teaching workshops for Canon, making videos for Adobe. I got to speak at
Adobe
Max, which was a tremendous honor, and make a lot of great, live teaching and online video teaching. It's some of the most fulfilling things I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, and it's really weird to be like doing these like major opportunities. I've made video series for Canon when my photography career was still kind of like influencery, I'd say. Anyway, all of that was happening. So grateful for all those opportunities. And then this came along. The pandemic happened, and I made this project called On the Roof, New York in Quarantine. And basically this book is a portrait of my neighborhood. I was living in Bushwick at the time for 4 years, and I was really, really into anthropology when 2020 struck. And basically I realized from day one in March of 2020 that people are going to be stuck in their homes. It's going to be a long haul. And with this comes reinvention of our lives in this, on the roofs and in our apartments. So I wanted to do a study on the neighborhood and how people adapted. And this is as much about photography as it is writing. And fortunately, I was in this incredible home. It was in Bushwick, and it's 17 interconnected rooftops, one row house, long row house kind of style. And because Bushwick is all mostly 3-level homes, I could see for miles.
Yeah.
So I had the
longest lens you could find.
I got a 100 to 400 millimeter.
Okay.
I got a 2x extender, and I was using my 60 Mark II at the time. 70D? No, yeah, it was 60 Mark II.
Okay. Crop sensor.
Hadn't even gone the full jump. And suddenly I was taking myself really seriously as an artist. The book was the most impactful. The images, when I was posting them on Instagram Live, day by day with updates, it was the most impactful work I'd ever made. It was getting shared around tremendously. And I knew at the time, like, wow, it has universal appeal in a way that my images haven't. And even since then, I don't think they quite have. I still make work that I'm tremendously proud of, that people seem to like. But this was like my first viral photography moment.
Well, it was a shared experience that people were trying to make sense of. And if they're seeing lifelines of what other people are, how they're navigating it, I think how could you not connect, right?
Yeah. And of course, New York was the center of the pandemic for a little while. So it was universally relatable in some sense, or more so than my niche skateboarding work. Anyway, I did this project. And I want to say this was not the most unique thing. During the pandemic, I'd say most photographers in New York and cities were either shooting photos on their roofs or taking photos of empty streets. It was like one of the two. I was just the one who was nutty enough to really go in on this and say, let's do the book.
Yeah.
So it became a really cool community project. This was not just me shooting without permission. This was me shooting without permission and then connecting with these neighbors and having wonderful conversations with them, making sure that everyone was okay with it. And I got to know all of my neighbors through this process. We had a whole code of ethics to make sure people were comfortable with the work. If they saw an image online that I wasn't able to get permission for, they could request that I take it down, and I'd still send them the work. It was a whole process. There was a whole, code of ethics to it all. Anyway, I was planning to self-publish this book, ran a Kickstarter to get some pre-orders going. And I figure right before I had my publishing, I had it all ready to go, one click away after the Kickstarter. And I said, you know what? Let's just give this a shot and see what happens if I shop this around to some agents. So I held off for a few weeks. I found an incredible agent. I just cold queried her, as I did all of the agents I reached out to. She told me, hey, I cried looking at your query. Like, that never happens. Let's talk. Did the whole pitch, and then we ended up with Thames Hudson as a publisher, which was absolutely mind-blowing. So bear in mind, at the time, I'm a photography influencer, I was really grateful to be. But suddenly I'm like, oh, wow, I'm about to work with one of the most respected photo book publishers in the industry. And they were such a blast to work with. I mean, they really took this thing to the next level, and got it in bookstores around the world. And I mean, just an insane experience. So as a segue, this was what got me taking myself a little bit more seriously. Thinking about myself as a fine art photographer. And, I had a big show around this work and the whole shebang. And now I'm taking myself less seriously.
Going to Hawaii.
This is a weird project. This is a project I didn't even want to shop around.
Is this a palate cleanser for you? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, this was just an experiment. I mean, all of my photography is an experiment, and just seeing what kind of weird stuff I can get into. But this one was like,
hey man, you want to get weird? Let's go to Hawaii.
Pretty much. This was in 2021. I took a 1-month trip. I like to skip out on the winters in New York as much as I can.
Snowbird.
So I was just roaming around the islands alone, sleeping in cars, boondocking, and meeting locals, having some strange experiences. And I just wanted to see what would happen if I threw myself in for a month with an interesting thesis and made a project.
Yeah.
This is the result of that. So it's strange. All of the materials in here are from vintage tourist materials dating back to the 1950s.
That's cool.
So it's really exploring our relationship of like how we've conceptualized Hawaii.
Is that a floating key?
Yeah.
Nice.
Lot of cool physicality. So yeah, this was like a fun, weird thing that we couldn't even get a publisher for if we wanted one, because there's, copyrighted materials dating back 70 years. So yeah, this was like me having fun with my incredible book designer, Brad Bailey. And that'll be out in the next few months. So I'm very excited about that. And then Chad's photo book, which is 50% my images maybe, is available for pre-order now.
Oh, that's cool.
And coming out in the next few months as well. So yeah, I'm having a printed photo era, I suppose.
Bunch of skate rats going, look at this, man. Chad sells his board for $50,000 and puts out a photo book. You've got books going. I mean, I think the important thing is just go do it and figure it out as you go along, and then you'll see where you end up. I mean, you weren't looking for a publisher for this, and now look what happened, right? I think that's one of the hardest things for people to realize is they go, a lot of people come up with ideas and concepts. It's like, yeah, now the hard part's to go do it. And the hardest part is to trust that you're doing what you should be doing, right? But if you're not putting it out there, no one's going to gravitate to it. If you're not into it, no one's going to be into it. If you don't believe in it, no one's going to believe in it. It starts with you. It starts with us.
One of the biggest things I learned through skateboarding, I think that all skateboarders have learned, is this idea of self-efficacy.
Yes.
Yes. When a lot of people think about a movie, they picture a big crew and a budget and a team and all that. And when a skateboarder thinks about a movie, they think of one guy with a camera who makes it happen on a $0 budget.
Yep.
And coming up with that kind of culture, I think I have the same sort of ethos for all of my projects. It's like, you can just do things.
Yep.
And you don't have to take yourself too seriously. And yeah, barging it and asking for permission later or forgiveness is sort of the ethos behind it all. So that plus street photography has just been a cool, all of this, my whole career, I'm not a huge planner. Mm-hmm. I think 1 month out usually. And I just look around and say like, what can I do next? What sounds fun? What sounds challenging?
Yeah, I think what has to happen for most people though is like a proof of it working, right? So I feel very fortunate personally because one of my first BMX shots was published when I was 15. Right there, it showed me, oh, like you can just go do this, but if that didn't happen, if I didn't get that assurance, that confidence that it would go somewhere, I don't know if I would have kept going, right? Like I think people need that first break, even if it's the smallest thing. Go to your local coffee shop, see if you can do a gallery show. You'd be surprised how many things people are open to just doing something, especially now when everything is very easily shared around and not just a few people show up to a coffee shop, but I don't know, maybe 1,000 people see that coffee shop because it was shared on Instagram. It could go far if you just think about it. If you guys have any questions in that chat, by the way, feel free. That's why we're live. You guys are welcome. I mean, Lana's going nuts, man. She's like your biggest fan here. Oh, man.
Yeah, one thing that I really love, I lost my train of thought. I'm gonna take that one back.
It's all good. No, look, I mean, I always also I'm sure I'm mislabeling this, but I always look at like what we do as like punk mentality. Like, go for it.
Okay, yeah, the train of thought that I picked up on is beyond the external validation that gets you going. Of course, it's nice to have a gig, recognition from a publication, yada yada. One of the most meaningful early on moments of like, wow, this is working, is you take an image of someone, make an image of someone that they really appreciate, that they feel is the best portrait they've had of them, or something that they feel, you captured an important moment. That alone is like, that's fuel to my fire. Whenever someone tells me that, I'm like, okay, cool. Like this is amazing. This is why I do it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess cause I chased commercials so quick, but cause I got so fed up with Fine Art World so quick. I don't really look at it like that so much. I just kind of chased, am I worth hiring? Am I worth being the one that you select to go do this? Are the shots worth, like, so for example, the magazine stuff, you threw your shots at the magazine and prayed that you were the one that they picked up for the same story that everyone else was throwing in there, which I'm sure is what's happening with the Olympics. Like if people are shooting and trying to make it that's their image, that's the one image that makes sense or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing a lot of images get passed around with no credit. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, things move really, really fast.
Super
these days.
fast. Yeah.
And yeah, things, solving this lack of recognition issue is actually something we think about a lot with Skatefolio, trying to solve this loop of regurgitated videos, not knowing who's who. We're really, really, really big on credit, especially for filmmakers who are some of the most undercredited people.
Oh my gosh.
In the arts.
I have shots somewhere online of when I got a concussion. I got smacked shooting because I was shooting a 14 mil and I was in there,
Line of fire.
45, 50 mile an hour bike comes hailing at you. You don't realize how close you are. You get wrecked, right? But was like accepted. That's like what happened. But people don't realize like how many times have you had to have like a heavy bag on your back? You're slower than everybody else trying to catch up to them because they're ahead of you. You get to a spot, you start setting up. They're like, nah, we're going to go to another spot. You're halfway set up. You got to break back down. Then you're going back uptown. You're skating uphill. Like everything is like, they don't realize how much more work it is for you just to make sure they're getting something out of it.
Yeah. Should we have a gear moment and talk about,
let's go.
Let's talk about gear.
There's a question before we get to gear. Okay. So,
let's talk about
Rosen. Where would I be able to view the Hawaii booking stores?
It's going to be on my site, joshkatz.me, and just stay tuned on the Instagram. We'll be announcing it very soon.
I'll put your thing. Bink. You can go follow them if you want.
Sweet. And do you want to talk about publishing with model releases? That's Lana's question.
Oh my gosh, what a nightmare. Go for it.
So she's asking, do you need permission and model releases from subjects to publish this book? And the way that I did it is I asked every single person. I just texted them pretty casually, hey, is it cool if I used your photo in this book? And 99% of people said yes. I'll also say to get this permission, it was, conversations with people from one roof over. When there was someone 2 roofs over, I would use a friend I'd made on the middle roof to pass it along my phone number.
That's so funny.
And if it wasn't too windy, sometimes I could scream 2 roofs over.
You don't want to wrap it around like a tennis ball and just chuck it and pray,
That was a smarter technique than what I had going. But no, in the end, I would say that I got permission from 90% of the people in this book.
Yeah.
There are still some folks who were just a little bit too far who I never got to talk with. So we just said, hopefully they hopefully actually the people on the cover never got to know them. So someone out here has been seen by a large number of people.
Well, it's a silhouette.
Yeah,
You know?
that feels a little safer. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to connect with them. And there's like 3 or 4 images of this in this book of people that I was never quite able to connect with. So hopefully they're wandering through the Strand one day.
Oh yeah,
And they
yeah.
see their face. That's a kind of a cool thing. But yeah, permission is super important.
No, we could have done a signing here or something. Maybe we'll figure out something for a future project here for you, because I built this space for us to do stuff.
I'm down. I got a pretty autograph.
I got a pretty autograph.
Let's talk about gear though.
Go. Let's go for a
That's what we're supposed to do. We're on the Adorama podcast.
It doesn't matter, but I did want to just one last thing about the model release thing. For a while, I had an app on my phone that had built-in release contracts that people could just swipe their finger across, and I was just racking up releases that way.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't think it works anymore.
Also, I have to call out, I have no idea how to drink my coffee as a lefty with this setup. I've been trying a number of techniques. I've done the right-handed switch. Let me try like an over the... It's kind of fun.
You're too focused on the coffee, man.
Anyway, to talk about gear, lightness is so incredibly important. So, and also like I've broken gear riding 20 miles an hour. One of my favorite events to photograph every year is Dawn of the Streets. It's this crazy BMX competition where all of the pros and a bunch of just enthusiastic younger riders gather. They mob across the city, multiple boroughs, and I'm following them on a skateboard. So it's
you're grabbing some seats, and then you're kind of hoping they don't let you sketch.
yeah, no, there's a little bit of sketching, but yeah, I mean, mostly I'm riding as fast as I can to keep up with these bikers.
Why not grab a bike at that point?
Well, I like to have 2 hands available for taking the photos because sometimes I'm holding a flash in one hand and a camera in the other.
All right.
And, you know, I'm also a really passionate biker, not BMXing, just cycling.
Yeah.
But that's another story. No, but lightness is really, really key. And honestly, having gear that isn't too fancy because I know that I have, and I can destroy it. Yeah. So right now I'm using an R6 from Canon, which I love. I have 600X 2 speed lights. And again, those speed lights get dropped. They haven't been driven away yet, but I'm sure that's on the horizon. And ultimately, I just need some gear that can fit in my backpack.
Right.
It's always a backpack.
Yeah, my early days, I took a sweatshirt, I laid it out flat. Something would go in the hood, something would go in the 2 sleeves, something would go in the pocket, and I fold it into itself and roll it, shove it in a backpack, and that was my photo bag when I was like really young, you know? And
yeah.
boy, did that break gear.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this on the Adorama podcast, but I'll say it anyway. Fancy camera bags, they're great. I have many, love them. A beanie for a lens in a regular camera or a regular backpack also works.
Yeah, anything that's going to just get you through it is fine. But I will say, though, counteract him, for the price of a beanie, you can get yourself a donkey wrap, which is just like a flat padded piece that you put something in it and it has Velcro, wrap it up. They're like $6-7, right? And then you can reuse them. And I have them color coded. So like my gray ones, I know what lenses those are. Those like my wide angle, my red ones or something else. But like, yes, beanie, but like for the same, if you have $7, donkey wraps.
And if you have more money, you should support my friend Deanna Fitzgerald's Fitzmaurice's Think Tank company.
Think Tank is amazing.
She just sent me a backpack, and it's the nicest backpack I've ever had. It's incredible, amazing photo bag. So I mean, I also love that, but like, you know, use what you have.
No, use what you have. Absolutely. I will say though, something like a bag, right? You're married to it for a while. Like it's not like you're changing your camera or you're changing or switching a brand or something like that. Like, no, you're probably gonna have that same bag for whatever you get into. You're just gonna constantly change out what you put into that bag. So make sure you find something that works for you. Personally, I don't know about you, but I'm a massive roll top fan. I love roll top bags.
I don't even know what that is.
So you're a skate and you know what roll top, like literally roll top?
That whole thing. Yeah. That's cool.
I
you
think,
pack a lot of those.
Well, it's like a bike messenger, I think, because I can fit a 9-foot seamless in a roll top and just put the strap over, and I'm fine, and I can just get uptown.
That's sick. Okay, and then the other thing is my lens, 2470 f2.8. What a miracle of a lens.
Done, right?
I'll bust out a 70-200, which is also incredible for certain projects like shooting Chad Skate Across America. Gotta have a telephoto. But usually just the 24-70s is all I need. And then of course, a little fisheye action here and there.
Well, do you, how do you feel about like the fast frames per second? Because for a long time, this type of photography, we're chasing like frames per second, but also if you're using strobes, you're usually not chasing frames per second because your strobe's up to fire. But now, I mean, you're shooting mirrorless at like 20, 30, 40 frames a second. Like
the decisive moment, never heard of it.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. It's really wild. These cameras are getting so fast where photo is basically video, video is photo. Personally, high speed plus on a Canon is usually too fast for me. It's like, I mean, it's amazing, but low speed continuous shooting is usually enough, especially for a sequence. And yeah, because I come from like typically using flash, single shot is also pretty effective. And I enjoy the challenge of it too.
Yeah.
But you know, if you want to fill up some SD cards,
I know.
high speed continuous. And there's occasionally a shot where you're like, this is exactly what I need. And it's incredible.
Well, what I found was as we went modern, a lot of like riders I was shooting didn't want just a decisive moment. They wanted like a GIF or like a quick sequential that they could play as a loop and things like that. So it wasn't just about like a still image. Yeah, you would be like, that's the peak of it. You'd have to like shoot it before you saw it kind of thing. Well, not anymore, I guess. It's so weird where we are. Like it's, but they really wanted the sequence to make something from the sequence is what I found personally. And I think we kind of moved into that with more short form video being that what people are trying to put up and stuff like that. Do you find like a lot of people you shoot are kind of like, yeah, stills are cool, but can you give me like a quick short video? Like, you find that a lot?
When the client's like, hey, can you casually throw in a little video? You're like, you're opening up a can of worms here. Yeah, you know what? I mean, I find myself straddling a couple different worlds in how I shoot and work. On one hand, in the photojournalism space, like I have a couple assignments here and there. I have some stuff coming out that I'm really excited about that I can't talk about yet.
All right.
But
this year?
In the next month or two, yeah.
Cool.
And I've been doing a lot of work for Streets Blog, which is a safe streets advocacy publication in New York, documenting the ugliest streets in the city, the most dangerous ones, and some of the most beautiful ones. It's been a really fun assignment. I just bike all over the city and get to study how these streets work. Super fun.
They give you the street to go to, or
they'll give me streets, they'll give me concepts, they'll give me, yeah, they send me all over. So I come from like, there's the photojournalist purist sense where like I will very lightly recorrect colors on an image, but beyond a little crop and a little bit of coloring, nothing more. Super light, has to be the most honest, you know, for the photojournalism standards.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, I'm on an advisory board for Lightroom, and we're often talking about AI and AI ethics and all sorts of stuff. And, you know, Lightroom and Adobe in general are like pushing into this, the future of digital art, while also trying to support photographers. And it's, yeah, I'm trying to keep my ear to the ground on both like the purist practice, which is really, really important. And I cherish that approach. And then also for certain things, I mean, especially for like commercial work where the truth is a little less important, like knowing when to manipulate an image, how much is too much, and what we're capable of. It's an exciting, insane time to be a photographer.
It's also incredibly nerve-wracking, I think. I mean, a lot of people are wondering, you know, well, what's the form of photography that we're going to shift into next, right? So I remember, you probably don't remember this, but there was like a whole thing a million years ago of people that were like, oh, these people that are shooting with their phone for eBay, oh, they're taking my job as a product photographer. Like, no, they would never have hired you anyway. Trust me, they're putting something on eBay, like relax. So when people are like, oh, AI is going to take this form of photography, like stock photography, whatever, like, but look at what stock photography has turned into. You need like a massive library now to make pennies on the dollar for each one that's hopefully used out there. And are they actually going to go and look for stock photography when people are just kind of hijacking images anyway? And
well, stock photography is probably one of the first to go as a result of AI.
That's what I'm saying.
Which is insane. I think there are certain spaces that are gonna have a really, really hard time. And then there are certain spaces that'll always be tried and true. I mean, photojournalism in particular, like it's AI proof. Like live events in general, you need a photograph and you want honest photos. Same for, I think the wedding photographers are safe. Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, right? So hear me out on this. Like wedding photography, if you've seen like the high-end wedding photos, they're literally CGI'd masterpieces that look like cinema out of a movie. And it's like those seagulls were not right there. There's no way the sun was in that position. And like we're getting to that point where they almost just don't care if it's documented. They want this fantasy that was in their head for their 15 minutes of fame of a wedding. So I think there is going to be like an AI. I'm not kidding. I think there's going to be a tiny segment of like AI wedding generated type imagery out there for people that just want that that level of fantastic.
Well, for like a sexy hero shot, sure, you can go all digital.
But your uncle drunk at the wedding, I'm sure they want that shot.
Yeah, you don't need AI for the drunk uncle.
The drunk uncle.
And any sort of live events, like I think that's safe. So, the space is going to change tremendously and the industry will evolve and contract. And it's terrifying and also exciting. I mean, on a more positive note, and this one has to require a little bit of like selfless thinking because I recognize that, being a working photographer, it's getting more challenging and it will only continue to in certain spaces. But I think about like someone coming up in a small town in an impoverished nation who previously would never even dream of owning a camera. And now what they can do with an iPhone, they can make a movie about their life, a feature-length film from a perspective of someone that we would never normally hear from. And that, like the storytelling capability from like a global perspective is insane. It makes me so excited.
I think that's the flip side to what people keep saying, like, oh, the phones are killing it. Like, no. More people are shooting than ever before, just not the way you're thinking about them shooting like they were ever before.
Yeah, my income will go down, but the creative space as a whole, then the output will go up. And, it's a trade-off.
I think there's always a morphing to the professional space because when I was assisting guys, they never even brought up learning video. I didn't have to learn it. Now it's like I need to know that medium so I can maintain clients or find new clients or whatever. But I think there's like what I'm worried about is people or corporations, whatever, taking AI into a weird position. So hear me out on this. Like I know this is like doomsday. Tinfoil hat.
Give me the doomsday. Let's hear it.
I just think like, let's say someone's a hot star right now. A young kid is like a really hot star. Their agents, they want to get signed by an agency. What if every agency says, cool, we can only sign you if you sign this contract that says we can scan your face. And now your image is now in a library for AI. So they never have to photograph you again. Oh, you want to do this gum commercial or whatever? Here you go. They don't have to even show up on set. They were in a data bank already. And like, all that takes is the beginning of someone's career to be signed into doing that, right? Like, are we going to get there? I don't know. Tinfoil hat galore. I get it. But they've already approached how many celebrities about selling their image to an AI stock base. And Adobe has a massive stock base to keep, and they have photographers submitting their stuff.
Oh, I mean, I think about a commercial shoot and I imagine you shoot it from one perspective and you plug it into AI and you get 10 more. So, I mean, in theory, you could hire people for a lot less, even if you want a base. Yeah, I mean, things are going to change. Things are going to change, and it's really, really scary for a lot of photographers. I completely understand. And I hope that everyone's able to adapt and find new opportunities. And also, the optimistic side of me thinks about what kind of crazy new opportunities are going to come about that, like, we would have never thought of.
You got to recognize them, though. That's the thing, right? I think it's just like, I think that it's moving so fast. We're not even having a chance to think about it right now. Like, it's just AI in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It's been nuts. I mean, you work a lot with Adobe. Do you submit your images for their data banks as well?
Less so these days.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I just feel like, there's a lot of scary things happening. But if you lead with curiosity and are excited to play and don't hold too tight to what we think photography should be. I mean, a lot of street photographers are still trying to shoot like Gary Winogrand 50 years later.
Look at Kodak. They were like, hey, we have this digital camera. Quick, hide that. That was like the quintessential, like, whoa, this is going to come one way or another. You're either going to be, and now look what happened, right? So you know that story, right?
Yeah. Don't be Kodak.
I love Kodak. I do. But if you think about where they could have been now, had they just embraced it, they looked at it more like, oh no, it's going to kill our entire film business. Then they're like, oh wait, digital's cool. Here's our easy share and all this kind of stuff. And now they're basically a licensing brand.
Yeah. Embrace cannibalizing your own business. That's advice, actually.
No, don't even start that. Now we're gonna get into all sorts of trouble. So up next, you got yourself the new book coming out. You have projects that you say are coming through. They can check everything out on joshkatz.me.
joshkatz.me or my Instagram, realistically. That's a little more relevant.
Oh man, it's been up the whole time. His tag's been up there, so you guys can follow that.
Nice.
Cool, man. I think we're hitting time. Is there anything else that you want to like promote or mention or anything? Is there a topic we haven't gotten to? Because I feel like we kind of blew through this hour pretty quick. as he takes a sip.
Yeah, I've lost all construction of time. So, no, I think I'm all good here. I got the Olympics to watch.
Yeah, that's true. Isn't it crazy that it's in the Olympics? Like, I remember when it's like snowboarding got in and stuff like that, but then you were like, this is crazy. Like, I'm cool that's being recognized. It's like synchronized swimming was in there way long before skating was in there. It's kind of wild, but I'm happy for it. I think it's just kind of, I just remember being a kid and never thinking it would get to something like this, you know?
It is like a weird derivation of what I think about skateboarding. Like, my whole website is devoted to the video side of things, and this competition side, it's these people that I've never heard of. These people that have devoted their lives to being competitive athletes more so than making films. And it's completely different. And I mean, it's also some of the technically best skating happening right now. So yeah, it's really thrilling. And there is a parallel to be drawn with photography here in that when the Olympics popped up, a cottage industry was born. And the traditional model of being a professional skateboarding athlete suddenly had this new pathway.
Yeah.
And like, I see that like the same thing is happening right now in photography. Like, there's going to be a whole lot of incredible new opportunities that leave the people who follow the traditional pipeline a little bit flabbergasted. Some of them might not be as respected. Of course, the most like respected thing is to publish photo books. And you know what? It's a really, really tough industry with thin margins. And like, it's tough to make a living selling photo books.
I don't think anyone that has a book will always tell you the same thing. Like, this is not where you make a living. This is something you want to put out into the world. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah. I mean, all the money from this, which would have been a decent chunk, went to charity. We donated 100% of the profits to Doctors Without Borders.
Oh, wow.
I thought it'd be weird to get rich off of a pandemic project.
Oh, come on, man.
No, but you know what? It's led to some really amazing opportunities. But regardless, like, yeah, it's a really, like, the margins are thin selling photo books. It's the most expensive business card you'll ever create.
Is there a digital version of this? You only did.
I'm a purist. So.
You're a purist.
No, it's all, yeah. I mean, the physicality is really fun, but yeah.
No, I'm with you.
It's,
I think it's, I always try to tell people that don't think about printing, like, it's really easy to say you shot something, swipe away on it, whatever. But when you have to live in a space with the work, like it's on your wall, it doesn't change, like it's there. It's a whole nother level to it. And it's definitely a commitment as a photographer to the shot and the work that you're putting out there. And to have a collection on a shelf being next to other.
Oh,
wild.
There's absolutely no greater honor than having my work in people's living room.
Yeah.
And especially being able to sell a book for $25, $30. I love affordable art. Like, I never want to be too pretentious with it.
Keith Haring style.
Yeah. And just having like, I mean, prints are amazing. Getting to see a photo in the physical form, not on a screen, is like how photography was meant to be viewed. So yeah, letting a lot of people do that is incredible. And like, what an honor to be a part of someone's home. Like, that is not something that we should ever be entitled to as a photographer, especially like in the street and documentary space, which is like notoriously tough to get on someone's wall.
Yeah.
You know, people like a nice little abstract painting there instead.
Well, I also think people are just inundated with that type. Like, you go on Instagram and you follow photography, like a lot of it's street photography and like studio portrait work or whatever. Like, it's very easy to get jaded to it and almost forget about what went into those images. What, you know, like you almost take it for granted a little bit because you're just so numb to it after a while because there's just so much. People are ingesting more images and more media and more things than ever before in so many different ways. So to get someone's attention to physically hold something for a minute, it's a big deal. And I think
I try to move slowly, honestly. I say that as I work relentless 14-hour days on all my work these days, but like taking things slowly, project by project, and after every project, reflecting on like, how did that feel? Do I want more of this? What should I do next? What am I capable of doing next? and like how those doors are changing. Like I saw a window of opportunity where I'm like, this could be legit, and I took it. And like I really don't know where my photo career is going.
Yeah.
But I'm having a lot of fun navigating it in the meantime, and like I know it's going to evolve, and I know I'm not going to recognize it in 5 years, and that's what's so exciting. But I know that I'll always be a lifelong photographer, and whether I'm shooting for passion or profit, or hopefully both, I'm just grateful to get to shoot photos, really, and teach. That's the best.
Yeah, I think we're gonna leave it there, guys. That's probably the best way I think you could think to drop it off there.
A sappy note to finish it off. Yeah.
But really quick, I want to say thanks to SanDisk again for sponsoring this. You guys know SanDisk. Like I said, we archive everything in the event space on SanDisk Pro. And I want to thank Gotham Roasters for the coffee. You know, they're one block up. You want to talk about community? Literally one block up. Tell them Adorama sent you if you go check them out on 19th Street. And you can follow Josh here. And don't forget to check out Adorama on Eventbrite. If you're on Eventbrite, hit follow on Adorama as an organizer. Wedding Workshop. This is multiple instructors. I'm talking Susan Stripling, high-end people, Rob Hall, all hands on. Check that out. That's later this month. The photo critique with me and Daniel. Here, we look at your work, give you constructive feedback, get you guys elevated, get you guys amped up. Come hang out. That is later this month as well. And Thursday, we have a really great APA event with a really amazing food photographer. Come hang out.
Seth, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks
This is
for
a blast.
by, man. Anything for free coffee, right?
This is some of the best coffee I've ever had, and I don't know what good coffee is.
I'm going to leave it there. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one. Be sure to check out 42 West 18th Street in the city, and I will see you later. Later, guys. Peace.